Ferrari. Synonymous with screaming V12s and fire-breathing V8s, these engines have defined the prancing horse for decades, signifying power, performance, and an attitude that is unmistakably Italian. But in 2021, all of that came under threat with the introduction of a rather different Ferrari. That year marked the arrival of the 296, which used, of all things, a hybrid-assisted V6. Sacrilegious.
And just like that, a storm of skepticism began to brew. Had the company lost its principles? Was this a proper Ferrari? Was Enzo turning in his grave? I'm going to try and answer those questions today using the GTB's convertible brother, the GTS. But before that, a little bit of context.
The Ferrari family was a very traditional one. Enzo, the entrepreneur, founded the company we know today, but its legacy was also informed in many ways by Enzo's father, Alfredo, Enzo's brother, Alfredo, and Enzo's son, also called Alfredo. To say this family were creatures of habit would be something of an understatement. A measure of that was Enzo's obsession with big, powerful engines, the pinnacle of which was the V12. But emerging from the shadow of Enzo's towering vision, his son, Alfredo Dino Ferrari, saw potential in something smaller.
Forget V12s, Dino wanted to make his mark using half the cylinders with a V6. Now that was a massive departure for Ferrari, but he believed that it wouldn't be sacrificing too much in the way of performance, and it would also bring massive benefits when it came to handling and efficiency. Unfortunately, before Dino could see his vision come to life, he tragically lost his.
In 1956, aged just 24 years old, he became seriously ill. In the final days of his life, while hospitalized, he made clear his vision for his engine, discussing technical details of a 1.6-litre V6 with his father and fellow engineer Vittorio Jano before succumbing to muscular dystrophy and passing away on the 30th of June, 1956. Heartbroken, Enzo vowed that Dino's work wouldn't die alongside him. With Vittorio's help, he completed the V6, named the engine after his son, and in typical Ferrari fashion, went racing.
In 1957, the V6-powered Ferrari F156 F2 made its debut in Formula 2 at the Naples Grand Prix, securing third place, marking the beginning of Ferrari's V6 adventure. But that was just the beginning, because in 1958, the Dino 246 Formula 1 car roared onto the scene. In the hands of driver Mike Hawthorne, it became the first ever V6-powered F1 car to win a race. Hawthorne would actually go on to win the entire F1 Drivers' Championship, proving that smaller didn't necessarily mean slower. Enzo would go on to build a road-going car with a V6 engine, the Dino 206 GT, but that car never actually featured a Ferrari badge, leading some people to question whether he really believed in the V6 engine. In fact, in the entire history of the company, no Ferrari has ever featured an engine with that particular layout. Until now. Turns out, Dino's obsession with 6 cylinders wasn't such a bad idea, because this thing is outstanding. It's massively quick. Outside of the SF90 flagship, this is hands down the fastest, most exciting Ferrari on sale today. Wow. As the 296 name might imply, it's a 2.9-litre engine with 6 cylinders. However, as I hinted at earlier, this is a plug-in hybrid.
The 296 GTS uses a 7.5 kilowatt-hour battery pack and a 167 PS electric motor to good effect, bringing total power to 830 PS. Acceleration is as vivid as you'd expect. 0 to 62, 2.9 seconds. 0 to 124, 7.3. Even without a roof, it will hit 205 miles an hour. Who needs cylinders?
Oh, there's just something frankly maniacal about the way this car turns its power into speed. It's absolutely staggering in a straight line. We've seen plenty of other Ferraris of similar horsepower, the likes of the 812 GTS, but unlike those front-engine rear-wheel drive cars, this thing translates every ounce of its performance into straight line oomph. Have a look at this. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, full stop, race mode, launch control, foot on the brake, accelerate, go. Look at that. Oh, it didn't skip a beat. I'm not even sure I got any wheel spin there. The 812 GTS would have been facing in the other direction, hidden in a cloud of its own tyre smoke. This thing is staggering.
While the V6 leaves little to be desired in terms of performance, it had all the potential to be disappointing where sound is concerned. But surprisingly, the acoustics are better than expected.
Ferrari nicknamed this engine the Piccolo V12 or the Little V12 because it does sound like a baby V12. It also uses the same hot tube system as you find in the 296 GTB, essentially a system of tubes and pipes that channel sound directly from the engine bay into the cabin, and it sounds fantastic. The volume isn't massive on the outside, but the quality of the sound on the inside is absolutely fantastic. Plus you get the whooshing and the chuffing of the turbo whenever you lift off. It's just such an engaging engine, it really is. Oh yes. And the cherry on top is because the 296 GTS is a convertible, you hear a lot more of that sound. Love it.
Of course, this being Britain, there's every chance most journeys in the GTS will involve rain, and if you need to put the roof up or down, it's no hardship. You'll be able to do so at speeds of up to 28 miles per hour at the push of a button. Pretty fast for a convertible, and the process takes a mere 14 seconds. But even with the roof up, the engine note still filters through the cabin via the rear screen and the aforementioned hot tubes. Another aspect of the 296's powertrain worth celebrating is efficiency. By lopping off 2 cylinders and leaning slightly on the battery, the GTS drinks less fuel. Running in full EV mode, Ferrari say it can do 16 miles on a full charge.
You activate E-mode by using the Manetinos here. This one on the right-hand side is just for changing your driving mode, so going from sport to race to CT off. But then there's a separate E-Manetino, which lets you go from qualifying to performance to hybrid to E-drive. And look at that. Now I'm fully electric. That's uncanny. An 830 horsepower Ferrari that's running around like a Nissan Leaf in total silence. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about paying lip service to Mother Nature. It's not about the environment. Well, it is, but it's more about not looking like an idiot in the environment that you happen to be in. Having that E-mode just means that you don't have to go around looking and sounding like that guy in a bright yellow 296 GTS all the time. It just means you can rock up to your house after hours without disturbing people, or you can leave early in the morning without waking people up. It gives you extra flexibility. It's nice.
And what's also nice is that ability makes this a pretty decent daily. That quietness, married to what is surprisingly comfortable suspension, make it a car you'll want to hop in as often as possible. It's just a big shame that these sport seats are more uncomfortable than they need to be. And I have other gripes. The hybrid system could be better. The battery doesn't like being left overnight on a low charge. Ferrari actually recommend you charge it using the engine, and therefore using more fuel, before you arrive at your destination if you think you'll be parking up overnight with a low state of charge. Usability is a concern too. Too many functions are operated via the main display using the steering wheel buttons as controls. Even simple tasks like adjusting the seat functions or air conditioning are done in this manner, and doing so on the move is frustrating at best and dangerous at worst. And then there's the quality of the stereo, which is to me an insult, especially given this car's price.
Which is, quite frankly, a joke. The standard price for this car is £276,000, but they will rinse you for options. I've got the price list right here, and it is spectacular. Let me read it out for you, okay? Carbon front spoiler, £5,000. 20-inch rims, £5,000. Titanium wheel bolts, £1,100. Parking cameras, £4,000. Carbon steering wheel, £3,000. Nose lift, £3,800. Premium stereo, £4,100. Paint, 23 grand. And if you want the logos painted on the fender, they will rinse you for a further £1,200. The total price of this particular car, 392 grand. That is punchy for a V6.
But punchy is precisely what the 296 does best. You'll pay for the privilege, but the privilege is worth paying for. V6 or no V6.
Oh yes! I really love this car. I don't think it's the prettiest Ferrari or the best sounding, certainly not from the outside, and it's definitely not the best value. But it is the most complete, bar none. The sheer speed in a straight line. It's just breathtaking. If anything, it's too fast. But it's also spectacular in the corners, it really is.
Dino's assumption that a V6 could bring advantages was clearly astute. The clever engine layout with 2 banks of 3 cylinders opened out to a 120-degree angle means the packaging is ideal. A flat engine would have taken up too much space, and a more upright V would have raised the center of gravity.
This is all stuff that you'd really struggle to feel outside of a racetrack, but having driven the 296 GTB on road and on track, let me tell you, the GTS, it's not a million miles off. The gearbox, it's just next level, so quick, up and down the box, never misses a beat. Who's doing gearboxes better than Ferrari in this day and age? And the brakes are fantastic too. It's a brake-by-wire system which you'd automatically expect to feel slightly unnatural, but not a bit of it. This ABS Evo system not only stops the car more quickly than before, but it allows you to brake and turn simultaneously, trail braking like an expert without unsettling the car. It's absolutely mega. The thing just feels stable no matter what you're doing, which is just almost unheard of, especially for an 830 horsepower car.
So, should we care that Ferrari has evolved its principles and has made its first ever V6 powered road car? Absolutely not. Not only is the 296 GTS a proper Ferrari, it's also proof that Ferrari isn't defined by a single engine type.
296 GTS is just spectacular. It's the perfect package. A fantastic new chapter in a legacy that continues to evolve. Alfredo, and Enzo should be massively proud.